I'm talking about something, I'm talking about product thinking today. I'm doing that because this bugs me. I started software development in 89, 90, a long time ago. A lot of you weren't even born back then. And I started software development at a small product company. We built software for brick and mortar retailers way back then. There were 30 something people at my company. And we built software that we sold to other people. And I learned how to build software at a product company. And it was pretty awesome. Or even when it sucked, it was kind of awesome because everybody was focused on the same thing, driving the same direction. And I thought, this is just the way software development works. We build stuff, people use it. Sometimes they love it, sometimes they hate it. And it's pretty awesome. You feel pretty proud when they use it. But I found out, it wasn't until I became a consultant about 2005, 2006 that I realized that's not the way it works. That in a lot of companies, they don't have a product head, that the people aren't working together to make awesome products. In fact, the process they use sometimes gets in the way, or people make decisions that make products just not awesome. Now, what I want to talk about is that mindset. The mindset that I see strongly in some organizations and see a complete absence of in other organizations. And I want to name it. I want you to be able to recognize it. And I want you to be able to tell when you might be guilty of this not product mindset and how to switch that. So look, the first question I wanted to ask everybody, and I may be answering this myself because we don't have a chat that works, is what makes a product great? Now let's do this. I'm going to switch over there. Aha, good. There's people there now, or at least a couple people. If I were to ask you what makes a product great or successful, what would you say? I'm going to see if, hey, Ashley from Perth. I haven't been to Perth in a while. All right, I'm going to answer this, Mike. Look, if I normally ask this question, what makes a product great? People are going to say things like it's easy to use or it solves a problem. It's, well, and yeah, those things start to sound like usable or fun or desirable, or it's, for my company, it makes money. I'm trying to think of other things. Normally, customers are using it and love it. Use it and love it. Thanks, Frank, for putting that in. The users get what they need done and achieve business goals. Get what they need done. Perfect. Yeah, what makes a product great? Customers. All right. I want to point out that when I asked this question, I've never once heard someone say finished on time or came in under budget or any of those things that we spend a lot of time worrying about. Anybody who's heard me give a talk before has seen me draw this drawing. I'm going to quickly get it out of the way because I need to name these parts. That most software processes start with ideas. The ideas may be whole new products, but if you've already got a product, already got something out there in the world, the ideas are often for features or capabilities to improve what you've got. Those are the things that we refer to as our requirements. In agile development, those are the things that pile up in backlogs. And we want to turn those things or those ideas into stuff, into product features or capabilities that we can ship. We worry about the time it's going to take to do that. We worry about the cost. Now, cost in software, the biggest single cost is the humans it takes, probably you. How many people does it take to figure this out and to design and build this thing? And then we call all this stuff scope. And everybody's heard of this time, cost, and scope triangle, and everybody knows this is the bad news triangle where we spend our lives, and it's miserable. It's bad news because we want to know all three, and the rule of thumb is you can't. If we fix time and scope, then the bad news is the cost is going to go up. If you fix time and cost, then the bad news is you're going to get less scope. And if you really insist on fixing all three, the bad news is there are actually four. The fourth one is quality. Fixed time, cost, and scope, and quality squeezes out like toothpaste in a toothpaste tube. That's what we're left with. But that is not what matters. What matters is what happens when things come out. What matters is what your customers and users say and do. Look, ideally, they say things like it's easy to use or it solves a problem. And somebody said, yeah, customers and what they do, they love it. It's usable. It's desirable. They get what they need done. Look, if we ship this product or feature, we hope that our customers see it, try it, use it. We hope that they keep using it. And we hope that they say good things. And these are the kinds of things that they say. Now, look, if we're building a product for internal use, or if we build a business-to-business product, we don't have to worry about whether people will try it and use it and keep using it. They have to. It's their jobs. If you work for a company that uses Jira right now, my gut is you weren't the one who decided to buy it. And if you were to stop using it, you'd be in trouble. Your team would be mad at you. That's the way it works when you're the user, but you're not the chooser. But look, they can't make you say good things about it, and they can't make you be more efficient. They can't make you be more effective, where efficient means you're faster at getting work done. Effective means you make fewer errors, you do better work. Those are all the things that matter. And if our customers and users do this stuff, this is one of the things that matters most about product is, well, if enough of them do it, we feel it back in the walls of our organization. Look, there are people there that are paying attention to whether this organization can sustain itself. And it does not sustain itself with happy customers that are solving their problems. It sustains itself with cash. And look, if enough customers use it and buy the product, metrics go up and we get stuff like ROI, or return on investment. It takes not just one customer, but lots of them doing this. If lots of customers say good things, that helps our brand awareness or our brand sentiment. And if lots of customers tell each other and more people buy our product, that helps our market share. Now, look, if we built it for internal use, it's still a product, but what we hope it does is it saves us money. It makes us more efficient or more effective, and that's where the ROI comes out again. So it can earn money and it can save money. Both those things are embedded in that ROI. Now, I draw the model over and over because we all spend, especially in agile development, an inordinate amount of time worrying about the output, worrying about time, cost, and scope. But what matters is what happens when things come out. That is the outcome. And the annoying thing about outcome is it is measured not in what you built or whether it's on time, but in what customers say and do. And if enough of them do it, we see this business impact thing. This is measurable inside the walls of our company, and this is measurable in the outside world, or at least even if we build it for internal use inside our walls, but we measure it by seeing what our users say and do. When you ask people what makes a product great, everybody talks about stuff that comes from there. That's all that matters. And, well, things like makes money comes from there, because if all this happens, then we get that. All right, look, that should be crystal clear. But I can almost guarantee that you work for a company that doesn't spend an awful lot of time reflecting on this and measuring on this. I can almost guarantee you use a completely different business model. So I want to talk about the different business model that you are likely using. And to do that, this is going to sound like a diversion, but I need to talk about my backyard. Michelle, are you seeing the picture? Yeah, okay. This is my backyard. It was a few weeks ago. I live in a place called Park City, Utah. It's high up in the mountains. I've got a fair bit of space here. And then my backyard was a mess. Lots of overgrown trees, lots of dead grass because nothing seems to grow here. And we said, this year we're going to take care of it. We're going to make a backyard that's kind of nice. So we dug it up and terraced it and hauled stone in, and they built this nice stone deck. We still have a lot to do now. We actually got grass in last week, and there's still more to do there. That big trench, by the way, that goes through is where my internet cable is buried. I know that because they've dug it up several times and cut it. So it's buried super deep now. So that's not going to happen again, I hope. Now, I hired this guy. He's a real guy. His name is Troy, and he really is the guy that runs the landscaping company. And this is the question I have for you. I promise you it's going to be relevant, is what makes a landscaper great? If you had to hire a landscaper, what would make them great or what would make them successful? Now I'm going to watch if people are still in chat. Tell me that. And I'll offer the stuff that I know not in chat, but in Slack. I'll offer what they do. They know what they're doing. Good. That's kind of well, I'm going to put quality as an aspect. Look, they know what they're doing. They're doing good quality work. Yeah, they're on time. They have the right cost and quality. So it's funny you said right cost, not cheapest, but there's some value there. Yeah, Ashley, exactly. You got the time, cost, and scope thing. Anything else you look for from these people? Yeah, good online reviews. I'm going to grab that. Look, if they've got good online reviews, well, that's a lot about their reputation. They have a record for being successful. The experience in the areas you're looking for. I chose a guy that was good at rock because I am sick of painting my deck that I used to have there because the snow wrecks it and breaks it down. But they know what they're doing. Again, experience in the areas we're looking for. It works for us, improves our lives. Yeah, that's the backyard. I want to come back to that. They'll listen to what you want. They listen, and a lot of people say that they're good communicators. People say that they have some kind of vision, or at least they can understand your vision and pair that with what they can do and help improve things. Those are, this may be enough. These are the kind of qualities we look for. And those are the kind of qualities I look for when we hired Troy. I talked to other people. Now I need to explain to you the way the landscaping business works, because I think you may already know. It starts with a customer. In this case, that's me, and I have a need. It's a need that I can't fulfill myself. I don't have all this equipment. I can repair sprinkler heads, but that is about it. Nothing past that. Now, because accepts Amex, true. So I don't know. I'm not going to write that down as I put down my green pen. Because I have a need I can't fulfill. I need somebody to do this work in my yard. So I go to, in this case, I went to Troy. Troy is a landscaper. And Troy has a team of people that do all kinds of stuff. And I explained to him what I want. It's his job then to, listen. People said that, to listen, to understand. He needs to, offer suggestions. And we go back and forth, but we finally agree on what we're going to do. Because he needs to figure out what we're going to do. He's going to need to figure out how he's going to do it, and he's going to need to figure out how much it's going to cost. And this is when he gives me back an estimate. And this is where in the process I throw a WTF exception, because the estimate always is more than I thought. I don't know how much this stuff costs. If I was an expert, I wouldn't be hiring an expert. I know what I want, and I can imagine awesome, but awesome always costs more than I can afford. And so we go into this back and forth thing I'm going to call negotiation. Now, during negotiation, I am trying to save money. I'm trying to get as much as I can for my budget. That's the way I work. But during this negotiation, Troy's worried, he needs to make money. He's got to pay his people. He's got to pay for all this equipment, and he's got to pay for all the materials we're using to cover all those costs. But he also has to he has to keep me happy, or has to keep his customers happy, because like somebody said, he needs good online reviews ultimately, so other people will hire him. So he's thinking of all that stuff. We go back and forth. We finally agree, and I give him an order. He gets to work, and he does the job. He focuses on what we agreed to build. That's that scope stuff. He focuses on the time frames, not just because I want my backyard done, but because he's got a team of people and other jobs running, and there are schedules and conflicts and dependencies and all that crap. He manages all that stuff, and he pays attention to the cost. And but look, when things go wrong, we did have stuff buried in our backyard that caused us to have to change the design, one of which, we've had to change the design. Some things were harder to get. The rock that we ended up with, we needed more. And he was able to explain why, but every time we run into trouble, we go back up into negotiation, back up and revisit these estimates, and back up and down. Now, he did cut my internet cable, and he said, I'm sorry. He got somebody out here right away, and it was fixed within a couple hours. That was awesome. And he did not charge me for it because he's making money. That mistake was obviously his, and it was built into his profit. That's the way this works. Now, eventually, it's not quite done, but eventually I will get a delivery. It will be done, and then he will leave, and hopefully I'll never see him again, or at least unless I want to have more work done, but that's it. Now I'm going to label the top line here requirements, and I'm going to tell you this process should look hauntingly familiar, because I can almost guarantee this is the process you use in your company. In fact, traditionally, we label the left side of this the business, and we label the right side of this IT. And the business gives their requirements, and IT gives back an estimate, and the business is never happy with it, and they negotiate to get as much as they can for the budget, badger and cajole, but eventually give an order requirements, and then we give back a delivery. We follow this process flow. Now, this works really well for Troy because of this one thing here, the making money thing. The way Troy makes money is he sells time. In fact, he sells his people's time. If Troy has way too much work to do, all he has to do is hire more people if he can, because the more people he has, the more money he makes from those people, and the bigger boat he gets. That's the way this works. Now, if he's got way too much work to do, he can turn down work. This only makes him look more in demand and make him more desirable. And the other thing he can do is raise prices. All of those options, or these options, make his business model work well. When he raises prices, he makes even more profit, and people that can't afford him go away, and that's the way it works. But I can guarantee you, if you are using this inside your company, your company does not make money selling engineers time. Your company, you as an engineer or you in IT cannot turn down work. You can't say no, or you have to try and accommodate as much as you can, and you're always going to disappoint people. And you definitely cannot raise your prices. That's not the way this works. Your company does not make money selling time. I can almost guarantee, unless you're a place where other people outsource their development. So that makes this model kind of, well, it just doesn't quite work. And the other thing is, what makes this team or this group of people, or what makes Troy successful, are all these things. But those things are not these things. And when we start using this type of model, it changes our focus to focusing on the business as our customer rather than our actual customers and users. That's a problem. And instead of focusing on outcomes for our product, we end up focusing on happy stakeholders. Now, this gets even more insidious if you follow a typical agile process. Sometimes we call the person on this side the product owner, and we call the person on this side the team. The product owner is responsible for building a backlog or figuring out the requirements, communicating to the team what's most important. The team estimates. There's some negotiation back and forth in sprint planning. We finally agree in sprint planning what we're going to do, and the team gets to work and does the work. And at the end, we reflect on our velocity. We'll take a look at our quality. But we never quite go back and reflect on the outcomes for what we build. And well, sometimes the team will mistake the product owner as their customer. In fact, Michelle said, look, I started with a process called extreme programming in 2000. My business card said product manager, but the team kept referring to me as the customer because in XP, this role is called the customer role. And the team referred to me as the customer. And I kept having to remind them that I will not see, try, use, or keep using or say good things about this product. The company will not, there's only one of me, and I can't do enough of this to actually generate ROI. I am not your customer. I am your coworker, and we're working together to build a successful product. So stop calling me that. And it's not even what's on my business card. Now, look, I want you to notice that this is the pattern where this is the process we end up using. And the big, most important point to recognize here is when I got my landscaping done, I hired Troy. I didn't hire or I didn't choose. Look, I eventually did choose the landscaping I want, but I didn't buy it off of a shelf, and there weren't bulleted features and things like that. I don't have an IKEA landscape that I installed here. This was custom built. The product is Troy. And look, if you work the way Troy does, you need to be aware, basically, when you're paying for custom development work, the service provider is the product. You are the product. The thing you're building is no longer the product. So don't get confused by that. Look, your process may be treating you like the product. And in fact, the most common process that will treat you like the product, at least enough to be annoying, is agile development. Agile development has been around for 20 plus years. It is now the default process that most of us use. And like all processes, we suck at using them and we blame the process or blame ourselves or things like that. And yeah, everybody now uses Agile as the default. And just like waterfall 20 plus years ago, it's waterfall's fault or it's our fault or it's some variation of that. But look, that's our default process. But Agile development is built around this service provider mindset. I should have corrected this. What we're talking about is IT as a service. Look, you see that in, I'm going to pull just a couple key points. That Agile manifesto value pair of customer collaboration over contract negotiation. It's exactly the kind of relationship I want with Troy. In fact, we did do this collaborative back and forth, and we continue to do that as things change. That's a great relationship. I don't want him enforcing a contract. I don't want to have to write a formal list of my requirements, and I don't want to have an argument with him later that says, I delivered on your requirements. It's not my job to make you happy the way this normally works. I want that. And if you've read the 12 principles that support the Agile Manifesto, the very first one could have been written for Troy. It says our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Strike out valuable software and replace that with awesome landscaping, and it works perfectly for Troy because he's in the landscaping business. He delivers landscaping to order. And look, if you deliver software to order, then this could be your principle. But if you deliver a product, Spotify's most important thing isn't to deliver valuable software, it's to deliver music when you want it. And Netflix's most important thing is to deliver on-demand movies when you want it, and good ones at that. It's not valuable software. If you work for a bank, no one wants their bank to deliver valuable software. That's not what they're paying for. They need software, but they need bank accounts and credit cards and loans, things like that. Look, get good at recognizing when your company's treating you like a product, or look, when you're treating yourselves like a product. Pay attention. How is your team evaluated? Are they evaluated on those service provider capabilities? Or look, if your team is evaluated based upon the velocity of your work and not those outcomes the product results in, that's a problem. Velocity and value are not the same thing. Great products aren't the ones that deliver more features faster. Great products are great because, well, of all those things you said. By the way, nobody said has more features in it either. No one ever says that. Look, if someone outside your team acts as the customer, decides what you build and says, that's good, I accept what you've built, it's done. Look, accepting what you built isn't the same as getting a measurable outcome or a measurable, benefit or impact in your business. If your biggest risks are always that time, cost, and scope stuff, and nobody's saying, hey, it's a big risk that people really want this product or will use it, or enough of them will that will get ROI, if those aren't the risks you're talking about, then you might be the product, or at least that service you provide is. And then finally, look, if you and your team don't actually know the real outcomes of your work, if you ship something and you never hear if anybody saw, try, used, or keeps using it, you never know if it got ROI, you might be the product. Now, I recognize that, well, let's go back. This kind of process, or this IT as a service process, may be baked into your company. It's the way you work, that you use projects. Projects have requirements. The projects need a budget or an estimate to pair with that budget, and you manage things that way, and nobody's managing to those outcomes. Look, if in your organization you are IT as a service, if your organization you have to work this way, I want you to I want you to think of a different way of performing that service. If I draw a continuum, and on one side of the continuum I put the word waiter, and on the other side I put the word doctor, I want you to behave a lot more like a doctor. Now, we know how this works. Look, if you go into a restaurant and you've got a great waiter, you can tell the waiter what you're interested in. They can suggest things. They'll bring you as much as they want. And hopefully you have a great meal. You eat a lot of great things. In fact, the more food you eat, the better the restaurant does, the bigger the tip the waiter will get. Oh, I'm in America. It's other countries may not tip at all. But look, try that with your doctor. First thing that happens when you walk into the doctor's office is your doctor will check your KPIs. Your KPIs, or your metrics, are your blood pressure, your heart rate, your body temperature. And for me, they always make me step on a scale and check my weight. And then my doctor proceeds to tell me that I am too fat, or I need to lose weight. I've actually lost a lot of weight over the last little while, so I'm less fat than I used to be. My doctor's very proud of me now. But she used to harass me about my weight and my cholesterol. Look, my doctor sucks. She just tells me stuff I don't want to hear all the time. Now, try treating your doctor like a waiter. Try going in and giving your doctor a list of your requirements and say, these are the prescriptions I'd like you to write, or I'd like you to schedule this operation. Your doctor will smile and say, that's nice. Tell me where it hurts. Because when you say the word outcome to a doctor, they know what you're talking about. The outcome doctors, well, ideally should be striving for, aren't writing more prescriptions. It's outcome refers to health. Now, if you start treating your business stakeholders this way, the first thing you'll do is reflect on how the product we have is doing and talk about its KPIs and, well, help them build a healthy product, or a product that's getting the outcomes they want. Now, look, I want you to start to smell or recognize the pattern, and recognize, because I see it constantly. Look, I've taught product management inside of Google, and you might ask yourself, why would they have to hire Jeff to teach product management? They make some of the most successful products in the world. And they use great product development process, except for when they're building stuff for their own internal use, and suddenly all those lessons go out the window. When I've worked with an HR group in Google that's building HR applications, and they fall back into this process model where the business tells them their requirements and the team builds what they're doing, and business is unhappy with what they built, and they follow this process. They don't do any of the things that allow them to create such successful products in the real world. All right. I want to finish in time to answer a few questions and talk a bit. And because I get tired of listening to myself talk, there's a couple things I want to get out there. Before we get too far along, I want you to understand how product development really works. And I'm going to draw my version of the Scrum model, except for product development. And it doesn't look anything like the Scrum model. So look, the first thing that has to happen is you have to understand, well, what your product is. And actually, let me unpack that a little bit first. If you worked for Atlassian and you built products, you would know that Jira is a product, and Confluence is a product, and Trello is a product, and it's super easy. But if you work for ANZ, not so easy, because, well, let's unpack products. And I want you to understand that products are actually built out of products. Let's say you did work for ANZ. Let's say you did work for Bank West, or you worked for some other bank. If I go into a bank, they will tell me about their endpoint products. In fact, if I say product at a bank, they will be talking about a type of loan, or a credit card, or some type of checking account. That's what you go to a bank for. Those are the bank's products. But, well, just like if you were to take a wrench and a screwdriver to your car and start to take it apart and hold up every one of those parts are products too. For instance, if you were to hold up the tire of your car, we recognize as a product. We can buy tires, and you'll see clearly the brand name on that tire is not Toyota or Honda. It's something else. That's a product inside of a product. Now, if you look at a loan or a credit card or a checking account, you will find products that are, let's call these customer enabling products. Those are things like a website, which allows me to get information on the credit card, or sign in, or check my balance, or a mobile app. You'll find other products that are employee enabling. Okay, we've got employees that need to use things. Look at an employee working in a call center. We'll have call center apps, and the employees use that to talk directly with customers, and that's a product. Things like applications, or applications that work in branches, or physical locations will have branch applications, and all of these are products too that enable this endpoint product experience. And then behind this is one other kind of product. Let's call these product team enabling. Look, if I built a website for a bank, at some point in that website, I'm going to need to be able to look up customer data and tell me what accounts I have and what their balances are, things like that. Same with a mobile app, same with a call center app, and same with a branch app. And I don't want to build that functionality multiple times, so I'm going to build a shared, let's call this a component, or a service, or, well, a platform that is leveraged by, well, these kinds of applications. Now, if you're a product team enabling team, if your product is that core component, your primary customer are, well, product teams. That's why they're called that. And if you're here, your primary customers are, well, your end customers, the bank's customers. And if you're here, your primary customers and users are employees. That's the way it works. And I have this discussion all the time, because when I walk into a bank, the word product always refers to these things, and helping them understand what their other products are is a big deal. Let me draw one other thing here. These product team enabling things have a way of bleeding out or popping out of the organization. Let's call these things partner enabling. One of the primary sponsors of YOW is AWS. And a long time ago, AWS was a pack of product team enabling stuff that Amazon used. And well, it popped out and became partner enabling, or something that we can use. And I'm going to call this a partner API. And most banks I work with have exposed functionality so that people like Xero, for instance, can integrate with your bank and show pull bank balances and things like that. And the bank furnishes stuff that allows that to be possible. All right, look, the first thing you need to do is understand what your products are. And look, once you understand what your products are, you need a team. You need a team of people. And the team of people is responsible for that product. They own that product. And they don't just own delivering features or pulling features off a backlog. This is not their process. They own outcomes and impact. And, well, of course, you don't get outcome unless you build output. So they do this, and they're responsible for the whole thing. Now, here's the way that works. I'm going to draw a model, and I'm going to put that product in the center of the model because everything revolves around that. In fact, that product is out there in the outside world, and that product has those customers and users. Now, some of those customers are happy, and some of them are less happy, and some of them are unhappy. And before you do anything, the first thing you're going to have to do is pay attention to your product and those customers and users. You're going to have to listen and learn. You'll do that using data, not data on whether you delivered on time, but data on how many customers see, try, use, and keep using it, and what features they use, and are they satisfied with those features. You measure those outcomes. Now, data will tell you what happened. Who was I just talking to even earlier today? They were saying, look, we deliver the features and they're not getting used, and now what do we do? Data tells you what happened, but not why. So we complement data with face-to-face interaction or observation. Look, I can get data from a lot of people, but talking to a few people will start to help me detect problems. Now, look, if we get a lot of data, that's going to expose a lot of, well, problems to solve, or opportunities, ideas to solve them. And there are always too many of these. Now, this leaves us with a focus problem. That means, look, given all these possible things we could do, well, we need to figure out how to focus. We leverage our organization's vision and its strategy. If vision is where we want to be in 10 years, strategy is our stepwise approach to getting there. This quarter we're doing this, next quarter we're doing that, things like that. And what's most important with vision and strategy is ultimately they lower down, or they drop down to not features we intend to deliver, but outcomes we intend to deliver, or target outcomes. That's how we prioritize. The sexy way to package up target outcomes these days is with an OKR, but look, a well-written OKR is about improving things for a customer. And if I've got a prioritized list, that prioritized list is a prioritized list of target outcomes. It isn't a prioritized list of features. Because once I've got that prioritized list of target outcomes, now I can say which features meet that, and I can identify features. Now, look, if we think this feature is going to move the needle the direction we want, look, the first thing we do is to build a backlog. But this backlog is not composed of parts or capabilities. This backlog is composed of stuff that scares the crap out of us. It's composed of risks and assumptions. Look, we're assuming, if all you are is a service provider, the biggest assumptions you're making is you can build it on time, or that those requirements are right, and you can deal with the requirements being right by having your customers sign off on them. But if you're a product team, you've got assumptions that you're actually solving a problem for a real customer. You can build it on time, but even after you build it, they will see it, try it, use it, keep using it, and say good things. And enough of them will to actually make a dent in your business's ROI or any of these things. It's a lot of assumptions there. And if what scares you is people really wanting your solution, or they can easily learn how to use it, or we can build it, the first thing you do is pull out that scary thing, and we ask, how do we make that less scary? Or we turn it into a question. Can people really learn how to use this easily? And then we build a test. The answer to that, can people really learn how to use this easily, maybe to build a prototype and do usability testing. If I build that test, then I put it in front of people, and I observe, measure, and see what happened. And what I get back from that is data. The data helps me change my idea and change what my risks and assumptions are. What's interesting here is what I get back from that test is not ROI, is not, I may deliver something to just a few people and measure the outcomes there, but they'll never be enough to get ROI. But I do this learning stuff so that I can be confident I'm building the right thing. This chunk of work is called discovery work. And discovery work is necessary if you're accountable for the outcome. It is completely unnecessary. If you can deliver crap and nobody uses it, don't do discovery. Just deliver what you're asked to. But if it matters to your organization, it matters to your team, you kind of have to do this. That's kind of the way it works. Look, we keep going around this loop. People may recognize this as a validated learning loop or a build, measure, learn loop until our risks and assumptions no longer scare us, until we are confident enough that we will get the outcome, and we build our last best backlog. And now we move from discovery into delivery. And delivery, what matters is predictability and quality. And in a weird way, we're moving into this a little bit in this service provider mode. This is where processes like Scrum shine, where you predict how much you can build every sprint. You stop and measure how much you built and look at that working software. And we grow the feature until there's enough of it that we can ship it into the world and it joins the product. A product development process is composed of these 4 parts. We listen and learn. We focus on what's relevant to our organization, relevant to where we're trying to move our product next. We do discovery to beat out risk and be as certain as we can that we're building things that actually get the outcome. And yes, we do the delivery work and focus on predictability and quality. That's your whole process, and it kind of has this loopy thing going on, a little bit like Scrum, but we learn, it goes all the way through and gets back into our product, and the whole thing starts over again. Now, look, I want you to have that mental model, and I had a bunch of things to tell people. Look, if there were, your company may not work like this, and I had a few different recommendations, but I want to wrap and answer some questions, and I want to give you, look, I had 6 in my slides, but I decided they're all stupid, or look, I want to give you one thing, the most important thing. If you're a product-centric company, or look, if you're not a product-centric company, one of the first things you can do is actually evaluate both effort and outcome. Now, I have some fake money here. If you're used to working in agile development, you end up building features. This is American money. If a feature is something that takes a few weeks or a couple sprints or sometimes quarters of feature capabilities can get fairly big. But what we end up doing in agile development is we break them down into a backlog of smaller stories or things that are part of a feature. Look, and we build some of these in one sprint, we build some of these in a next sprint, and some of these in a next sprint. And at the end of maybe 2 or 3 sprints, we got a feature that ships. That's the way it often is. We break things down. Now, what matters is, look, I have a fake $5 bill. Half of a fake $5 bill, well, half of a $5 bill is not worth $2.50. Try and buy a coffee with half a $5 bill, or somebody says, I don't have change, so you rip the bill in half and hand them half the bill. That's not going to fly. And delivering half a feature does not fly. People will see it, they will try it, and they will say, this feature's half done, and they will not use it, and they will say bad things, and that's a bad outcome. So we need to deliver the whole thing, but what matters is, well, how long did it take to deliver that whole thing? I'll ask people to look at the actual effort, and look, are they, when we got the whole feature, did it take days or weeks or months or quarters? And every feature, when you get that whole feature together, stop and reflect and say, how long did that actually take? How big was the whole thing that I needed, the least I needed to build to get that outcome? And also reflect on how on time was it? Time, cost, and scope does matter, or at least the time especially. And if it was late, it took longer than you expected, tag it or mark it. And yeah, you'll find the big things, often the late things, but just because it's big doesn't mean it's always late. There may be some big things that aren't late also. But every time a feature comes out, stop and reflect on the actual effort. Now, here's what matters. Stop and also reflect on the actual outcome. Now you'll find that everything you finish, its actual outcome is I don't know. That's where everything starts. We ship it, and the outcomes don't happen until things come out or until it's actually shipped, and we don't know. But things start in I don't know, but then they pop into this top area. At the very top is the awesome zone. Things are awesome when, well, you know the answer, when people see it, try it, use it, say good things about it, or they become more efficient or effective, and we have every indication we're actually going to get ROI from it. And at the bottom is the easiest thing to detect, and that's the awful zone. What's interesting is it may take you a while to figure out awesome, but awful smacks you right in the face right away. People will complain about that first thing, and you'll have to apologize or roll it back or find somebody to fire or something like that. Now, in the middle is what I'm going to call the meh zone, where it's not awesome, it's not awful. If we had known it was going to land there, we might have not built it in the first place. And what I'll ask teams to do is at the end of every sprint, after we reviewed what we just got done, let's check the board and say, hey, the feature we released 2 sprints ago, we've got some early outcomes coming in, and it's kind of landing in the middle. It's sort of a meh. And look at this thing we shipped, we hit it out of the park. It is definitely awesome, and things start bubbling up and landing in all sorts of different places. Now, I promise you, the first thing you're going to learn is very few things end up in awesome. Look, if it was easy to hit awesome, we would all be startup founders and all be multimillionaires. It is not. You don't. You'll find that you release a lot of features that don't get used very often, that end up here in the middle, and you will get some lemons or things that end up in the bottom. What you generally see is 20 to 30% in awesome, or what that translates to is, look, only about 1/3 of what you build accomplishes its desired objectives or reaches the outcome and impact that you want, and 2/3 don't. Happily, there's enough ROI in the 1/3 that does that we're usually okay. You'll also notice that whether something that was on time or late has nothing to do with the outcome. I can deliver something that was horribly late and get an awesome outcome. I can deliver something that's absolutely on time and get an awful outcome. And it will start to, well, disconnect this this nervousness you feel about getting things done on time. The minute you start realizing that on time has nothing to do with value. Again, velocity is not value. First thing I ask teams to do is just stop and reflect on things they've already shipped. And maybe the only other thing I'll ask teams to do is, look, most teams using agile development will write acceptance criteria. And usually acceptance criteria is the answer to the question, what would we check to confirm it's done? Then the only other question I want you to start asking is, what outcomes do we expect and how will we measure them? Now, this may compel you to instrument the product so you could actually measure if people saw it and used it. But even just talking about what we expect to see in the world happen is more people use this feature. We expect half of all of our customers to use this feature, or 20%, or 100%, or and just talk about what the outcome is. I promise talking about the outcome will cause you to question what you're building. In fact, that was Kent Beck's original idea with stories, and that's why we write stories in these silly formats where we talk about users and what they want and how they will get benefits. We're meant to talk about the outcome. Talk about the outcome, actually reflect on the outcome. I think I'm going to end this with one cautionary tale. Let's talk about the biggest example or one of the biggest examples of following that service provider anti-pattern, where IT or where teams were treated as a service and they treated their boss like the customer. Now, this is their boss. This guy's name is Jeff Bezos, and you know Jeff Bezos because he's the richest guy in the world. And this was from 2014 when he is proudly showing off this Amazon Fire phone. Now, I'm not sure if they ever even got to Australia because they died super quick in the US before they got here. They released it with lots of fanfare, and it absolutely tanked. reviewers hated it. It was originally released at a US dollar price tag of $200. They eventually started selling them for 99 cents, as long as you just signed up for a mobile plan. And ultimately, Amazon wrote down $170 million in inventory. That's what they wrote down in phones that they had to destroy or get rid of. I don't know how many thousands of phones there were. And we don't have no idea what they spent on R&D to build that thing. Now, there are lots of articles that unpack what went wrong, and I'm going to extract one quote from a Fast Money article that says, look, we poured surreal amounts of money into it, yet we all thought it had no value for the customer, which was the biggest irony. When anyone asks why we're doing this, the answer was because Jeff wants it, and they don't mean me. What happens is, when you treat your boss like the customer, and when your boss is happy and you ship it, that is a completely different thing than focusing on actual outcome and impact, actually validating that real customers actually want it, not just Jeff. Now, look, this was in 2014. By 2016, Jeff had learned his lesson, and he does an annual letter to shareholders. And in that letter to shareholders, he says, good process serves you so you can serve the customers. But if you're not watchful, the process can become the thing. And he's trying to get at sort of a cautionary tale of just following the process that isn't the same as keeping your eye on customers and their needs. Now, it's good for him to say this 2 years after that $170 million mistake, but that makes perfect sense. Now, look, let me end. Yeah, I took the whole hour here, and we've got a half hour to talk about questions. Product thinking, what it characterizes, it's just moving your focus to outcomes, the success of the product you're creating and improving, not just the effort it took to do it. Don't mistake being a good service provider, doing your job well, delivering what you said you would on time. Look, the Amazon Fire Phone team delivered what they said they were going to do on time or on time enough, but it just didn't matter. That's not the same as being a good product developer. Your companies succeed when their products succeed, and follow them back, unpack your products. If you work for a bank, everybody knows your products are loans and mortgages and checking accounts. And if you unpack those, you're going to find lots of other products that make it up. And when those are successful, your company is successful, not when you deliver on time. End rant. That's it. This is a 1 hour rant about this stuff. Now, I need to switch over and this becomes an ask me anything thing. We don't have to, if you're tired of this, you don't have to talk about any of this stuff. And I know somebody's going to ask me, how do we change our culture to be more like this? And I don't have an easy answer for that. In fact, it's the only reason I'm in business is because it's not easy. Any questions here?
There's a couple floating around in there.
Do this.
Do you want to just sign off here and type in the Slack, or would you rather just answer them?
Well, I don't know what usually happens. I was assuming I would just answer these questions out loud, but what do people normally do?
We've been having people type in the Slack, but it's up to you. No, you do it verbally. It's fine.
Yeah, if I can do it verbally, is that okay?
Absolutely.
Is that okay with y'all?
This is an experiment. We're iterating. So please, whatever works for you.
This may be a problem. I may have to switch over to Slack. My computer is having some funky battery problems that I talked to you about, Michelle, and they're plaguing me. I'll look at Ashley's last question. Isn't the customer's problem what they're asking us to build? First off, isn't this the customer's problem? What they're asking us to build will deliver value for them. Software development is part of a larger system of delivering value. Now, if you first off, if you're relying on your customer to ask you what to build, then you're in the service business. That means the only business model that works is when you build what they asked to build and you make money because you did. Now, in most companies do not make money because you built software. They built money because the companies make money because the outcome was successful. And you're kind of at the heart of the problem. If you consider yourself successful because you built what the customer asked for and on time, and they said good things about you, your company does not win when business says good things about IT. Now, Troy, my landscaper, wins when I say good things about him as a landscaper. He can get more business. But I've got this cool fire pit in my backyard that is gas powered, and so I can turn it on when it's snowing here. And if I see it and I try it and I use it and I decide it sort of sucks and I don't use it anymore, I'm not going to blame Troy. He's not responsible for whether I got value out of it. I am, because I'm Troy's customer. But what's also true is I own the product. Troy doesn't own the product. Troy's product is the service he provides. So yeah, if you're a service provider and that's the way you make money, you're absolutely right. It's the customer's problem to understand what the value. Look, I saw what Damien said. It's even worse when the customer's a proxy, or or they're building what the CEO is building what the VCs want. The minute you start substituting the VC or the stakeholders or the board of directors for your customers, and you're starting to build stuff that will make the board of directors happy and not your actual customers and users happy, that's the highway to hell, or that's where disaster starts. And for a lot of the companies I work with, it starts with IT trying to satisfy the business, and holding the business completely responsible for making good choices when the business doesn't. Just like me, I don't know the best landscaping. I don't know how much any of this stuff costs. And look, all of us are co-responsible for those outcomes. Any other questions?
There was another question from Berger a little further up where he said, is product owner an anti-pattern? Which is, I think, when you were talking about using the product owner as the customer.
Yeah, no, product owner isn't. Well, first off, I hate the term product owner. I teach Scrum certified product ownership, but I title the class Passionate Product Leadership. I stopped calling it product ownership because if you're doing this right, the team recognizes that they own the product. Not a person doesn't own the product. The team owns the product and its success. I want people in that role to be leaders. They're collaborators. They work with a whole cross-functional team. The team works together to make good decisions. And you will know what I mean if you work for a company like Atlassian. That's the way they're organized, into cross-functional product teams where product managers act as leaders, work closely with designers and engineers, and they religiously measure outcomes on whether people are actually using the stuff they build. So like all things, product owner it's an anti-pattern if you do it wrong, or if you sometimes Scrum by the book really smells like that service provider anti-pattern. And that's what we try. This is the model I end up teaching to try and break out of that. Boy, I think those were the only questions in there.
Anyone else? Speak now.
Speak now, and I can watch the Slack channel and respond to a few other things. I can actually use my words and type. But it's so easy for me to keep ranting.
The rants are fun. I very much enjoy and appreciate them. I had not heard about the Amazon Fire Phone before. I'm going to have to go look that up. That sounds absolutely epic.
I extracted that quote from a Fast Company article, and yeah, it was a dismal failure, and everybody points their finger squarely at Jeff Bezos and said, "We did what you asked us to," and then Jeff fires back and says, "Well, you were supposed to do what the customers wanted, not what I wanted." Easy for him to say, but everybody knows if you didn't do what Jeff wanted, you were going to get fired. That's the way it works, and that's what people. That's what
I think a cheeky $130 million loss is probably not a lot for him. There is another question from Frank.
Yeah, good. Key for me is that developers should build experiments. If customers ask them to build features, products, then they're on the wrong track. Yeah. Well, if customers ask them to build features, the next thing to ask them is, if we build this feature, how will you know it's successful? Or if we build this feature, how will you use it to get benefit? Move the discussion to the outcome. How will you see, try, use, and keep using it? That's meant to be the story we're talking about. Then you can say, they can tell you how they would use that feature. And oftentimes we catch that we're not going to get the outcome that we were expecting, and we can move into a collaboration. Yes, if they ask for a feature, make sure and talk about the outcome. Then I'll ask people, how confident are you you'll get the outcome? You're about to bet 2 sprints of team time on building this feature. If we're about to bet 2 sprints of team time that this feature will get the outcome you want, would you bet me lunch that you'll get the outcome you want? And I say, yeah, I definitely bet you lunch will get the outcome we want. And I say, okay, well, would you bet me a day's pay that you'll get the outcome you want? And they say, yeah, I'll pay you whatever you make in a day. And I say, okay, well, let's up this. Would you bet me a week-long vacation, a week in Fiji? And they say, well, I wouldn't bet you that much it's going to be successful. That puts you in this weird place where your company is about to spend the equivalent of 10 to 50 weeks in Fiji for something that you wouldn't bet 1 week in Fiji for. And your confidence isn't as high as you thought it was. And then you say, well, what would make you more confident? And the answer to that is often an experiment or a test or something that is a smaller bet to help you be more confident. That's what product discovery is about. We're making bets, not bets that you can build it on time. If you're a service provider, that's the biggest bet you're making. But if you're a product person, you're betting on that outcome and impact stuff.
There's one just above that says, yeah. Do you see that one?
Yeah. Oh, well, I saw the Homer Simpson car. Everybody should look at that.
It says product managers are very often accountable for the outcome while very responsible for the output. How do we reconcile the two?
Well, first off, so one more time, product managers are very often accountable for the outcome while very responsible for the output. Did you mean they're not accountable for the outcome, or they are? Or are they accountable for both? Now, for one thing is, you can't be accountable for the outcome, not fully accountable, if it wasn't you that decided what the output will be. If somebody tells you build this feature and you build the feature, the outcome is bad, it's the person who made that decision that ends up being accountable. This is one of the weird things that happen when you become an order taker or build what the business asks for. What it does is strip responsibility for outcome from the team building it. Now, at most, we want to share outcome. If teams agree that feature is going to get the outcome, or if they don't agree it's going to get the outcome, they do experiments to try and adjust or change that feature, or prove that it isn't going to get the outcome, or prove that it is. That's what we do. Yeah, product managers and product owners are responsible for the output, because when there's no output, there's no outcome. It's a picture I didn't draw that a successful product is ultimately valuable to your organization, ultimately usable by your users, and ultimately feasible to build given the budget you've got. Any idiot can come up with awesome ideas that are too expensive to build. If you're a product manager, your job is to work with your team to find awesome ideas that we can afford to build. That's how you take responsibility for the output. But you have to do that by collaborating closely with your team, working with the people that know how to build the stuff we're all thinking of together.